What if every piece of gear you buy painted a little dot on a map with your name next to it? The tools that keep you alive when society frays are the same tools that create records, registrations, and purchase patterns. The tension is real. Capability makes you resilient, but capability also makes you visible. In this video, I'm going to run through 10 essential prepper gear categories that tend to draw attention, the things they watch, why each one matters for survival, how it can create a paper or digital trail, and lawful, pragmatic steps you can take to reduce unnecessary visibility without breaking the law. If you want the printable checklist of these 10 items and legal tips, hit subscribe or check the link in the description for the download. Start with how visibility works. Modern monitoring isn't a single spy, it's a web of data points. Credit card transactions, shipping manifests, warranty registrations, online accounts, serial numbered sales, and even social posts can be stitched together into a profile. Agencies enforce rules through registrations and controlled items lists. Private companies feed algorithms that flag unusual buying behavior. When I mention ITAR, that's the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, a U.S. framework that controls exports of certain defense-related items. When I mention Executive Order 6102, that's historical context. In 1933, the U.S. temporarily restricted private gold ownership as part of broader monetary policy. It's an example of how governments have used legal tools around valuable assets. These are context points, not instructions. If you're unsure about compliance, consult a qualified attorney. Now let's get to the list. For each item, I'll say why it's important, how it creates visibility, and one lawful mitigation you can pursue. 1. Night vision and thermal optics. Benefit: seeing in the dark is a force multiplier. Night optics extend your safe hours, improve reconnaissance, and let small teams operate more effectively when light is limited. Visibility: high-end night vision and thermal devices are often regulated or flagged because of military applications. Sales channels for specialty optics commonly require paperwork, and purchases can show up in export control or vendor records. Online warranty registrations and forum bragging amplify that footprint. Lawful mitigation: choose civilian-grade models intended for legal non-military use, buy from reputable dealers, and keep documentation proving lawful ownership and intended use. Avoid public posts that identify your gear or locations. If that makes sense, wait until you hear why fuel storage is next. 2. High-capacity fuel storage. Benefit: fuel equals mobility and power. Enough safe fuel storage keeps generators running, lets you move when needed, and bridges gaps when supply lines fail. Visibility: large tanks, frequent big deliveries, or commercial-grade containers can attract regulatory scrutiny. Fire codes, hazardous materials rules, and commercial permits exist because fuel is dangerous. That paperwork is trackable and can create a visible profile. Lawful mitigation: comply with storage and fire safety codes. Store fuel legally and securely. Disperse capacity across legal containers and locations, and document safety measures and permits where required. Never advise or engage in illegal bulk deliveries. Number 3. Medical supplies, trauma gear, and antibiotics. Benefit: life-saving care when EMS can't arrive. Tactical trauma kits, sutures, splints, and a stock of prescribed medications can make the difference between life and death. Visibility: large invoice-heavy medical purchases, especially for prescription drugs or bulk trauma supplies, can look like equipment for a field clinic. Pharmacies and suppliers follow prescription laws and reporting requirements. That creates traceable records. Lawful mitigation: prioritize training and certification so your medical equipment use is documented and legitimate. For prescription meds, follow legal prescription routes and keep detailed records. Store supplies responsibly and consider rotating items to serve community first aid needs rather than personal hoarding. Number 4. Encrypted radios and secure communications. Benefit: When infrastructure collapses, reliable, private communications keep teams coordinated and families safe. Secure channels preserve operational confidentiality. Visibility. Certain commercial encrypted radios and frequencies are regulated. Unlicensed or export-controlled radio equipment can require registration. Vendors and telecom companies may log purchases or activations, and governments often require licensing for particular bands. Lawful mitigation. Use licensed amateur radio, ham bands, and equipment where appropriate. Obtain any required licenses and learn lawful, non-exploitative ways to prioritize privacy. Remember that encryption laws vary by jurisdiction. Consult regulations before investing in specialized gear. Number 5. Large-scale water filtration and storage. Benefit. Clean water is the non-negotiable resource. Community-grade filtration systems and big cisterns let you sustain more people for longer periods. Visibility. Systems designed for community-scale water processing can be seen as critical infrastructure. Large purchases, installation permits, and records of delivery can link to ownership or property addresses. Lawful mitigation. Frame large systems as community resilience projects where possible, get proper permits, involve local organizations, and document compliance with building and health codes. Smaller distributed filtration units reduce conspicuousness while retaining redundancy. Number 6. Body armor and protective equipment. Armor, helmets, and protective equipment increase your odds against violent threats and accidents in chaotic environments. Visibility. In some states and countries, armor sales are tracked, and certain classes of armor may be restricted to law enforcement or military. Serial numbered gear and purchase records can create a trail. Lawful mitigation. Check local laws before buying. Keep receipts and manufacturer documentation that show civilian intended use, such as occupational safety. Avoid trying to modify or conceal regulated items in ways that could run afoul of statutes. 7. Bulk ammunition and reloading supplies. Benefit. For those who include firearms in their preparedness plans, having access to ammunition and the means to produce it later can equal sustained defense and hunting capability. Visibility. Ammunition and reloading purchases generate clear financial and inventory patterns. Large, repeated purchases from the same vendors or unusual payment activity may trigger merchant or platform alerts. Lawful mitigation. Follow all applicable laws, background checks, storage regulations, and transportation rules. Keep accurate records, use licensed retailers, and be transparent with lawful authorities when required. Don't encourage hoarding that shrinks supply for neighbors. 8. Drones and aerial surveillance equipment. Benefit. Drones provide eyes from above, scouting routes, checking damage, monitoring perimeters without exposing people. Visibility. Drone sales, registrations, and flight logs can be tied to operators through registration numbers and remote ID systems. Authorities and airspace managers may require registration and notification in many areas. Lawful mitigation. Register drones when required, learn no-fly zone rules, and operate within civil aviation regulations. Use commercially available systems that meet civilian standards. Avoid unapproved modifications that might be restricted. 9. Bulk seeds and farm equipment. Benefit. Food independence depends on seeds, tools, and know-how. A stock of seeds and proper implements lets you grow a portion of your food supply long-term. Visibility. Large seed orders, equipment leases, or purchases that exceed normal household gardening needs can appear as the backbone of an alternate food system, and bulk shipments create logs. Lawful mitigation. Diversify seed sources, mix home garden purchases with community gardening projects, and document agricultural use for community benefit. Share knowledge rather than hoard, and help neighbors start their own plots. 10. Precious metals and tangible wealth. Benefit. When fiat systems wobble, tangible assets like silver and gold store value and may be usable in trade. Visibility. Dealers, bullion brokers, and coin shops are subject to anti-money laundering rules.
Large transactions often trigger identity verification and reporting. Historically, governments have enacted extreme measures around monetary assets. EO 6102 is cited as an example of past intervention in U.S. gold ownership, so recognize the historical precedent without assuming inevitability.
Lawful mitigation. Stay within reporting rules, diversify holdings across asset types, and use reputable dealers. Keep proof of purchase and be mindful of legal reporting obligations. Across every one of these categories, the same pattern repeats. Capability brings risk of visibility. Purchases leave financial records. Registrations and warranties feed databases. Social media and forums amplify those signals. Agencies and private systems can combine those dots into a profile that draws attention during a crisis. So, what do you do with that? OPSEC, operational security, is the prepper's highest skill. Here are high-level, lawful practices that reduce unnecessary exposure without advocating illegality. First, document lawful purpose. Training certificates, group affiliations, community service plans, and legitimate business uses are powerful ways to show good faith intent. If you're storing fuel because you run a generator for a nonprofit, that's a different context than unexplained bulk purchases. Second, diversify. Don't put all of your capability into one high-profile item. Spread resources across lawful, complementary systems so no single purchase tells the whole story. Diversification means redundancy without being conspicuously concentrated. Third, follow the rules. Licenses, permits, and registrations exist for reasons: safety, export law compliance, airspace integrity. Complying keeps you on the right side of the law and reduces the chance that gear will be seized in a legitimate enforcement action. If you're dealing with export control issues like ITAR, get professional advice. ITAR governs certain defense-related exports and can carry strict penalties if ignored. Fourth, be discreet in publicity. Avoid posting detailed photos of serial numbers, asset locations, or operational plans online. Public boasting creates a trail that's easy to follow. That does not mean hiding illegal activity. It means exercising common sense discretion about what you place into permanent, searchable records. Fifth, think community first. Preparedness that benefits neighbors reduces moral and practical risk. Shared water filtration, community medical training, and neighborhood food co-ops create resilience without creating the optics of hoarding. Ethically, preparing should not harm local access to essentials. Don't deprive your community to protect only yourself. A few cautions. Do not attempt to circumvent lawful registrations or invent schemes to mislead vendors or authorities. Do not buy restricted equipment under false pretenses. I am not giving legal advice. Consult an attorney for complex compliance questions. And do not turn preparedness into panic-driven hoarding that hurts others. Responsible readiness strengthens a community. It doesn't starve it. Remember the trade-off. Every capability is a double-edged sword. You want to be ready, but every acquisition can add a thread to a visible fabric. Your best defense is the combination of lawful behavior, thoughtful OPSEC, and community-minded planning. That's the real edge, not a single piece of kit, but a disciplined approach to readiness. To recap, the 10 essential prepper gear categories that often draw attention are night vision or thermal optics, high-capacity fuel storage, medical supplies and antibiotics, encrypted or secure communications, large-scale water filtration, body armor and protective equipment, bulk ammunition and reloading supplies, drones and aerial surveillance systems, bulk seeds and farm equipment, and precious metals or tangible wealth.
For each, weigh the survival benefit against the visibility it creates, comply with applicable laws and regulations, and adopt discrete, ethical practices that prioritize family and community safety. If you want the full kit checklist and an OPSET guide that walks through lawful compliance and practical mitigation strategies in more detail, download the guide linked in the description. Stay prepared, stay legal, and remember, sometimes your greatest advantage is staying off the map.